Welcome back, everyone, to the session two of our amendment discussion. In this particular discussion, we are going to discuss about the amendments that has happened for November examination with respect to charge chapter. So there are two sets of amendments. One amendment has happened in notification relating to 9 subsection 3, which talks about reverse charge mechanism. We all know that in reverse charge mechanism, instead of the supplier, it is the recipient who is receiving goods or services who is liable to pay taxes to the government. And for CA examination only, reverse charge mechanism that is applicable to services are applicable for the examination. It is applicable to both goods and service, but they're only service. So there are few amendments that has happened with respect to those, and that amendments were already applicable for the last examination, that is May 2020, which did not happen. But then they have one clarification that is additionally that is applicable for November examination. So more or less you would have already seen this if you had attended the earlier sessions. So I'm not going to take time in explaining what is reverse charge. You should definitely go ahead and watch our webinar videos on that, so you will have an idea on that. Now let us look at what has happened to the change. So the numbers that is being mentioned here are from my main notebook in my classroom discussions. So from there we are trying to make the amendments and understanding here. In case of, so which means that if somebody who had attended classes of mine for November 2019 also, if by watching this amendment lectures, they will also be getting all the amendments that is necessary for their November 2020 exam. So in case of author, there was already a reverse charge entry that was in existence. Okay, so there was already a reverse charge entry that was in existence by notification 13/2017. So which is the main notification which is talking about where and all reverse charge will be applicable. So what is the change that has happened? So when an author, okay, you take an example of Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat is a very famous author in India. So Chetan Bhagat provides certain services to a publisher. So you know that we are all purchasing books from a publisher through the dealers, the book-stalls. Now this publisher is actually selling goods, and publisher will pay some money to the author, no? So when publisher is paying some money to the author, definitely author is providing some services to the publisher. So we've already seen that permitting the use of their copyright is a supply of service. Schedule 2 says that. So an author is actually permitting the publisher to use his own copyrighted content and allowing the publisher to print a lot of books on that particular front. So if there is a lot of books that is being sold by the publisher, there will be a share of that particular income that will be paid to the author as their royalty payment. So author's activity or author's supply to the publisher is considered to be a supply of service. So what is the amendment that we have here? This was already there in the earlier entry, wherein they said if an author provides a service by way of permitting the use of their copyright relating to an original literary work, then it is the publisher who has to pay GST to the government, which means that if Penguin Books, okay, which is the publisher, which is paying say 10 lakh rupees to Chetan Bhagat, who is an author, then this particular Penguin Books will have to pay only 10 lakhs, that is the value of that particular royalty, to the author Chetan Bhagat, and then the GST has to be, say for example, if the GST is 18%, 1,80,000 rupees will be directly paid by Penguin publishers to the government under reverse charge mechanism. This is how the provision is being panned out. Now what is the change that is there? It's already there. It was already there earlier also. What's the change then? The amendment is that now there's been an option given to the author now. Say for example, if the author being Chetan Bhagat, he has a lot of expenses. Say for example, Chetan Bhagat manages a website. So that he has incurred 5 lakh rupees to develop a portal for him. Or he has some other other expenses that he's incurring in terms of managing an office, and there are a lot of expenses that Chetan Bhagat is incurring. So since Chetan Bhagat's outward supply, the supply that is to the publisher, is taxed under reverse charge mechanism, taxes paid by the publisher to the government, Chetan Bhagat cannot take any ITC. So this is something that we have already seen in the earlier discussions that we had in the main classroom videos, wherein you would have seen that if my outward supply is under RCM, then I am not eligible to take any ITC on my inward supply. Now Chetan Bhagat thinks that he would like to take an ITC. Now it is forced upon him that his supply will be under reverse charge. He was saying that, see, I'm an author, I can actually take GST registration and then collect the taxes from the publishers and then pay. I have no problem for that. Now let me take my ITC. I have made a lot of inward supply for that purpose. But the government allows that now. That is the amendment. Now the author can choose to pay tax in the forward charge mechanism. There are two conditions to be satisfied. They'll have to submit a declaration in the prescribed form that they wanted to opt for forward charge mechanism. The moment forward charge mechanism is applicable, the author will have to bill the publisher with, say for example, if Chetan Bhagat, 10 lakh plus GST has to be billed. And that amount will be paid including GST by the publisher to Chetan Bhagat, and then he will separate the GST and he'll have to pay under forward charge mechanism. Now at the same time, whatever expenses he has incurred, whatever GST paid on that, he will be eligible to take ITC. Now what if people opt for this in the month of October? October the author opted for this because October he has a lot of expenses, he wants to take ITC. November he again swapped back to reverse charge. Is that possible? The answer is no. Condition number 2 says it shall not be withdrawn within 1 year from the date of exercising the option. So once you opt for forward charge, you will be continuing for forward charge for a 1 year time. Next one. So these are all new entries that has come from 1st of October 2019. So there are two entries that I'm going to talk about. One is lender of a security providing the service by way of lending security under Security Lending Scheme of 1997 of SEBI to the borrower of security. Okay, so there are two exchange houses or there are two broker houses which is providing the activity of lending of security between them. So if there is a lender of security and there is a borrower of security, then it was taxable earlier also. From 1st of October 2019 onwards, it will be taxable under reverse charge mechanism. Okay. Now there has been clarification that is given. Let us read that also together. This clarification is available only for CA final, but then it is good to understand this. So I'm just going to discuss that also right now. So there are lender of security and they will do lending of security through an approved intermediary to the borrower of security. This is as per the agreement that is given by SEBI. So Security Exchange Board of India permits different security participants to lend the security with each other. Okay, so there are a lot of transaction that is possible because they can borrow and then transact in that particular securities. So there is a separate security lending scheme of 1997 passed to regulate how the lending of security has to happen. Now I'm taking you back to the discussion that we had on security. So we said security like shares, debentures, etc. are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. In supply of goods definition under section 2 says goods excludes money and security. So securities are not goods. Similarly, in case of services, they say service is anything other than goods, money, security. But then you have a clarification there. They said the commission for facilitating the transaction in security becomes a service. So security is not goods, not service. So generally security is not coming under the ambit of GST because it cannot be called as a supply of goods or service. But here you have to understand that lending of security is different from supply of security. When there is supply of security, then you will be getting the entire consideration for that. That's the clarification they are giving here. So if somebody who's lending security, giving it on rent, for example, you can call it like that. Okay, so there is a lending fee that will be charged. So there will be say they're lending it for 1 month or 1 day or 2 days. Okay, to do the matchmaking. So this particular lending of security is considered to be an activity which is different from delivery of security. Whenever I'm saying that security is not goods or services, I'm talking about delivery, which means that I'm selling the security and getting some money. It's not renting of security or lending of security. So here there is an electronic screen-based matching system that is managed by approved intermediaries of SEBI. So lending of security is not a transaction in securities. It does not involve disposal of security, not changing the ownership from me to another person. That becomes disposal. That is not goods, not service, not subject to GST. Lending is a service wherein you're getting lending fee. Is it taxable? Yes. So first understanding is that lending of security is taxable. Lending of security is taxable. It was taxable. So earlier also, from introduction of GST onwards, GST is applicable to that. There was no exemption that is given. Now then, what is the change that is now there? Earlier, say for example, I'm a brokerage house which is lending the security to another brokerage house. Now earlier, forward charge was applicable. So if I lend the security and then I'm getting 1 lakh rupees, I used to charge 1 lakh plus GST from the borrower of security and then pay taxes to the government. Now the change is that now reverse charge is introduced in this. It is the borrower of security who has to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. That's the only change that we have. So you can look here. Now from 1st of October 2019, lender of security, if they are lending security to a borrower under Security Lending Scheme 1997 of SEBI, it is the borrower who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. Now let's look at the next case that we have. There is a clarification also on this. You will have to carefully understand this. There have been changes that has happened on this because there was confusion. So they have come up with a clarification on this. So they said you have to look at, so on the first column I have given who's the supplier. On the second column, what is the nature of service, and third column, who's the recipient. This is the order in which all these notes are being written. Any person, supplier is any person other than body corporate who supplies services to a body corporate and does not issue invoices charging 6% CGST, which means 12% GST. So this is a person other than body corporate. Supplier is a non-body corporate supplier who's providing services to a body corporate. So a company is on the recipient end and who is supplying a person other than a company. Okay, so other than a body corporate is supplying. Now what is this? What is the nature of this particular activity? Services by way of renting of motor vehicle designed to carry passenger where cost of fuel is included in consideration charged from the recipient. You're renting a motor vehicle. Say I have 5 Swift car. I give this 5 Swift car on rent to Infosys. Will I come under this particular head? Yes, I'm doing renting of motor vehicle. Now let's try to understand what are the options available to the supplier on this particular activity. Say, there are 2 options that is applicable to a supplier who's into renting of motor vehicle. He has 2 rates that is available for him. One is he can pay GST at 12%. So he can charge GST at 12%. What is the benefit of 12% and what is the demerit of 5%? We'll try to see. So likewise, like we had the cases of GT and all that, here also there has been given 2 rates that is applicable for a person who's into the business of renting a motor vehicle. So I have 5 Swift car. I'm renting the Swift car. I can actually choose either of these rates. First one is 12% I can choose. Benefit, whatever inward supply I have, I can take ITC of that. Now, or I have the option of GST payment at 5% with restricted ITC. What do you mean by restricted ITC? I cannot take ITC other than the ITC of renting another motor vehicle. So I am having 5 Swift car. Now I want a 6th Swift car to be rented to the Infosys. Now I'm asking another person who's in the business of renting a motor vehicle. I'm asking him, can I take your Swift car for rent? So I'm taking the 6th Swift car for rent, and that particular renting I would have paid GST, that I can take ITC. So only the same business I will get ITC, no other ITC is allowed. Which means that in your head, you should think that it is 12% with full ITC availability, 5% with no ITC. Okay, there's only one ITC, that is what I have told you now. Now, this particular case of 12%, there is no change, it is under forward charge. So if you want full ITC, you have to pay tax under forward charge only. Now, I don't want full ITC. Now, I had chosen for 5% GST. Then, earlier it was forward charge only. So, both of these were under forward charge. You had different rates. One with ITC 12%, another one without ITC 5%. Now, they have made some changes there. They are asking you the question, are you a body corporate or non-body corporate? So, if you're a body corporate who's into renting of motor vehicle, and you are chosen 5%, then if you are chosen 12%, irrespective of who are you, it will be under forward charge. If you are a supplier who's into renting of motor vehicle, and then you are a body corporate, then there is no change in the provision. You are under forward charge even if you choose 5%. No change in the provision. It is forward charge irrespective of what rate you choose. But if you're a person other than body corporate, say I'm an individual sole proprietor who's having 5 Swift car. Now the next question I should ask is, who is the recipient? So I'm a non-body corporate supplier who has opted for 5%. Now I provide services to a body corporate. It will be under reverse charge. It will be paid by body corporate. So if I'm a sole proprietor, I'm giving 5 Swift car on rent, collecting 50,000 per month from Infosys, then it is Infosys who has to pay GST under reverse charge on this. Now what if I'm an individual and I provided services to other than Infosys, which is, say for example, I provided services to Mr. Ram, who's another individual. That is again under forward charge only, which is under reverse charge. Only when a person who's under 5% category and he has, which means a person who is not under 12% category and he's a non-corporate or he's a person other than body corporate, and then he has provided services of renting of motor vehicle to another body corporate, then it is under reverse charge. That's the change. All other cases forward charge. So of course you don't get ITC. So they have given circular clarification which says reverse charge mechanism shall be applicable only if the 3 following conditions are satisfied. What are the 3 following conditions? Supplier is a person other than body corporate, provides renting of motor vehicle where the cost of fuel is included in consideration, and does not bill for 12%. They're not billing 12%. If they have billed 12%, if I'm an individual, I bill 12% forward charge. And recipient happen to be a body corporate. If these 3 conditions are satisfied, then only reverse charge will be applicable. So these are the cases of reverse charge amendments that we have. Also in this particular chapter, there is one more amendment that has happened, which is relating to composition levy scheme under section 10 subsection 2. So in 10 subsection 2, it talks about persons who are not eligible to opt composition levy scheme even if their turnover is within the threshold limit of 1.5 crores or 75 lakhs. So we had these 5 set of people who are not eligible. In that, look at the third point, there is an amendment there. So earlier they said a person who is manufacturing PTI, pan masala, tobacco, ice cream and edible ice. Pan masala, tobacco, ice cream and edible ice. PTI, short form. So if there is a manufacturer of PTI, they are not eligible to opt for composition levy scheme. Now they have replaced that word with suppliers, which means it can be manufacturer or trader. So pan masala, tobacco, ice cream, even if you are a manufacturer or a trader, you're not eligible to opt for composition levy scheme. Similarly, they have added additional amendment which said not only PTI, if you are a supplier of aerated water, soft drinks, your aerated water, then you are also not eligible to opt for composition levy scheme, even if your turnover is within the limit. I hope you're understanding this. So this is an important area. This can be tested in the examination because they had questions avoiding traders in the ICA material and all before amendments. Now you have to be careful about this amendment. So I will see you in the next chapter with the next video. Thank you.